Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the privacy and the security editions. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the show live or, hey, just watch these HD re-releases. Why not? Anyway, we're going to start in with a few updates here. Apple walks back the student verification system. Remember last week with Apple, like all of a sudden out of the blue, hey, you got to be on this crappy website that verifies everything within an inch of your life. All of a sudden this week they backtracked that further, no further explanation. Like no explanation for why it happened, no explanation for why it didn't. Maybe it was a small partnership they were kind of working on and somebody accidentally pushed it live when it wasn't supposed to be pushed live. There was other speculation that suggests that a lot of the Apple catalog is not available on the website yet, and so they took it off for that reason, but there's really not a lot more going on there. It's just they walk back. So if you are a student wanting a Apple device on a student discount, get it now before they reverse course again and force you to go through some crappy service. Speaking of Apple, they are launching a new personal safety user's guide amid AirTag concerns. Basically, it's the same guide they had before. They simply added a section about how to find out if you're being stalked. And this is a technology that I would be in favor of banning. And here's the reason. Hear me out here. I'm not a big fan of government intervention on a lot of things, but the problem we have with these particular devices is I can get an AirTag and put it on, and if I'm also an iPhone user, it will beep if an AirTag that's not mine is in my close vicinity. As long, of course, that the other person that put it on there and then disable it to re-enable it later. There's ways around this. But because of, obviously not everybody uses iPhones. I mean, some of those people are just poor homeless scrubs that can't afford iPhones, so they have to use Android. So Apple released a app in the Android store, in the Google Play Store, so you can grab the app from the Google Play Store and you can manually scan for AirTags that are around you. But even that doesn't work if the AirTag is technically disabled. So a criminal can put these, and as I said a couple weeks ago, criminals were using AirTags, putting them in luxurious cars to track the car's home and figure out where the people lived so they can steal the car and the belongings in the house later. That's how these technologies are being used by the criminals. And these things are not even a year old yet. I mean, think of the depravity we're going to get to if these things continue to be available on the market. And so what happens is they have the app in there and somebody can put it on the car and then disable it because it will not give a warning. It will not give an audible beep. It won't alert your iPhone that it's there. And then they can go on late at night, crank it on, and find you. Isn't that exciting? And so this raises some concern. So basically all they did is they added a bunch more things, and pretty much the only thing that they did is, I think it was adding this part down here, or AirTag and Find My Network are designed with privacy at the core, just not criminality, I guess. So it says AirTag and Find My Network accessories have unique Bluetooth identifiers that change frequently to discourage unwanted tracking. Find My notifies you if an unknown AirTag or other Find My accessory is moving with you over time by sending you a message that an item is detected near you. Of course, only if you're on iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch running iOS 14.5 or iOS 14.5 or later. iPad OS 14.5 or later. You see this message on your device, an AirTag, other Find accessory that has been separated from the person registered as traveling with you. The owner might be able to see its location. It's possible the AirTag might be attached to an item you are borrowing. Oh, no mention about it might be attached to an item a criminal has placed in your possession that they can find you and stalk you later. But the only other thing they added in there is a section about the Android app. Get the Android app where you can manually scan for devices that are near you. And the fact that we don't all have Android devices, we don't all have iPhones, and this is used in such a deep criminal element is pretty good evidence that, it's kind of problematic. And that's why I'm like, I don't know if this technology should be around. Well, Meta has built an AI supercomputer that says it will be up and running by the end of 2022. It will be the world's fastest, designed to train the next generation of machine learning systems for detecting things like hate speech. Well, if this isn't just Skynet meets 1984, I don't know exactly what is. Okay, of course, this is Meta, which is Facebook. If you've been living under a rock for a while, Facebook is now called Meta. Allowed them to not violate the terms of purchasing Instagram and merging all of the data because they're separate companies now. And so with this, the AI supercomputer is going to be working on developing these. So RCS will help Meta's AI researchers build new and better AI models that can learn from choices of examples, work across hundreds of different languages, seamlessly analyze text, images, video together, develop new augmented reality tools, and so much more. Sounds like a dystopian nightmare, especially since these algorithms that they already use are already horrible. I mean, if I get flagged for a video, hit manual review, it'd be extraordinarily rare that a human actually reviews it. They just run the bot over it again. Well, the bot already said it's wrong. Explain. It's wrong. Explain. It's wrong. Explain. It's wrong. And that's what this algorithm is going to do. And this is in the hands of Facebook. So if anything else should cause you to have a little bit of deep concern or should cause you to finally quit all Meta products, period, no matter what, and block them all on every device that you use, well, that's kind of what you might want to do. So, yeah, you can, or you could just use Meta's AI supercomputer to detect hate speech, and then whatever becomes out of vogue, 10 years from now, you're going to be flagged for hate speech for something which is completely acceptable today and not later. I mean, just ask J.K. Rowling's, okay? I mean, really, that turf. Anyway, Google, after widespread criticism of FLoC, decides to drop FLoC. So the chicken has flown the coop, but they are replacing it with what is called Topics API. And I actually, reading through, we do not have the details yet. The details are still slim. I think Topics API actually sounds worse than FLoC. FLoC at least was a giant group. Topics API, so literally what they're doing is instead of doing all the cookie comparison, this is a feature built into your web browser. Okay, so you guys running Google Chrome or anything based on Chromium really will probably have this built in. Your open source browsers will probably disable it by default or completely rip it out. But what this is going to do, let me see if I can find the explanation here again. When you go onto a site, the browser itself is going to have the ability to go and fetch new categories from Google as they're constantly expanding, and they're starting out with like 8 different categories, auto and vehicles, books, literature, comics, animation, rock, music, team sports. You visit one of these sites and the site goes back and says, hey, this is the type of information, and all this stuff is stored somewhere connected to either your browser or your Google account if you're logged in. And so when you get into another site that's also calling for it, and there's no, by the way, clearing your cookies, there's no other way to block this. If it's in your browser, it's working. And then they're going to be able to detect all this information, see the types of things you're looking at, and apply ads based on what you want to see. This is horrible. This is the most privacy invading nonsense I've ever seen. I mean, we got to stick with cookies. At least we can have control over them. So what's the difference between the two? Both let the browser track you and your interests and report those interests to the advertiser, leading to ads with higher click-through rates. Topics will give users a bit more control over how the process happens and should the users make less individually identifiable. Google says that the Chrome settings will show users which topics the browser has detected you're interested in, and users will be able to delete the topics they don't want to see ads for. Hey, Google, I don't want to see ads for anything, okay? Really, I don't want to see ads for anything, nothing, zero, zip, zilch. Do not show me ads for anything, period. Absolutely not, no circumstance at all. Permanently delete, completely get rid of, nuke this, burn it with fire, guys. Burn it with fire. Whew. And you guys who are new have not seen the fire screen before. Whew. Welcome to the fire screen, because this is nonsense. All right, so the reality is, it's like, oh boy. Anyway, users will be able to delete topics they don't want to see ads for. Most importantly, Google says users and sites will be able to opt out of the topics API. Well, that's good news, I guess. How about make it fully opt in? There you go. See if anybody's actually interested enough to turn this nonsense off. Okay, so the list of topics are available. They include football, politics, software. Google says topics will be public, human curated, and scoped to avoid sensitive areas like ethnicity or sexual orientation. Behind the scenes, the system will work by mapping website host names to various topics, and as you browse the web, your browser will build a local list of your topics. When an advertiser asks for a list of topics, the browser will serve up one from the topic of each of the past 3 weeks. Google is proposing that advertisers will only receive topics they observed from other sites. So if you visit a knitting website and it has Google ads, only other sites with Google ads will know about your knitting habits. Here's a thought. I don't want to explain my knitting habits to anybody. I mean, I'm a guy after all. I shouldn't be knitting anyway. Yeah, that's exciting. Way to go. Well, on to our feature story. ID.me CEO backtracks on his claims. Basically, he says that the company does not use. Basically, it's the one-to-many approach to analyzing. Basically, it's the same thing that Predpol was using, which is deeply problematic because it tends to misidentify black people. And so, well, the facial ID thing says that you did the crime. I didn't do the crime. I was in church. I was literally there preaching in church. Well, you're black. The thing says it was you. It was you. Because that's how bad these facial ID systems are. Well, ID.me uses the same technology. Yay! It also uses, for you guys that don't remember, Amazon's recognition. Yay, yay! And so we already have connections to all sorts of unscrupulous garbage inside of it. And this is the same company that wants to be used on several government things, including the IRS. So despite Krebs saying, this is one of those services everyone's going to have to get, so you may as well opt into it now. Screw you, moron. I'm not opting into it, okay? I don't want anything to do with this nonsense. I will rather go out and live in a cave in the middle of the rocks somewhere than give all my information to ID.me. Screw them. And screw any organization that wants to use ID.me. I hope I didn't make myself unclear. Okay, so basically he used to say our system uses a one-to-one face match, comparable to taking a selfie to unlock a smartphone. ID.me does not use one-to-many facial recognition, more complex and problematic. This is the CEO saying this. However, it turns out that over on LinkedIn, he says one-to-many verification is used once during enrollment and is not tied to identity verification. It does not block legitimate users from verifying their identity, nor is it used for any other purpose. So does it use one-to-many or does it not use one-to-many? He's kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth. He'd be a great politician. Actually, I don't know. He'd be a horrible politician. Please don't run. So he says, we avoid disclosing methods we use to stop identity theft and organized crime as it jeopardizes their effectiveness. He pointed to the indictment of a New Jersey man last week by the FBI after the man bypassed ID.me's verification system and stole $1 million in unemployment benefits. Maybe the IRS should really rethink using this nonsense. LinkedIn post follows internal discussions expressing concerns with the company's public statements have been inaccurate. We could disable the one-to-many face search, but then we lose valuable fraud fighting tool, or we could change our public stance on using one-to-many face search. An engineer wrote in a message posted on the company's Slack channel on Tuesday, but it seems we can't do one thing and say it's another as it's bound to land us in hot water. Yeah, like right now. Congratulations, you actually have an intelligent person there. Maybe you should fire your current CEO and put that guy in charge, because at least he has some form of social awareness. The internal messaging obtained by Cyberscoop also implies that the company discussed the use of one-to-many with the IRS in a meeting. Hey! So they're completely lying. There you go. Well, they'll fit right in with the government. I was in a conversation with the IRS on 1/19 where we explicitly discussed using Amazon's recognition. That is spelled incorrectly. It's REKOGNITION if you're looking it up. For one-to-many face search, the engineer wrote, it seems like it could be troublesome, so I wanted to post here to discuss the next steps. So it lists Paravision and iProve as biometric technology partners. It does not appear to disclose its relationship to Amazon's recognition. Amazon isn't mentioned in a recently released white paper explaining the technology. They confirmed Thursday to an email that Cyberscoop that the company uses Amazon Recognition face recognition product, and that is the correct way to spell recognition there. So basically they lied about how they're doing things, and that is kind of problematic for an agency that the IRS is going to force everybody into using, and that is highly problematic. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, we do have affiliates. Today we are highlighting Pro Writing Aid. I use this to help get better grammar and writing, and this is a company that's always been privacy first. They never care about what you're writing. They just want you to correct it. And you can use my affiliate code here, tlm.li/PWA. It's going to give you 20% off a yearly subscription or a lifetime subscription. You can also buy a monthly subscription. These will help support the channel. And you can actually use some of their services for free. So if you want to check them out for free first, go ahead over to their website at prowritingaid.com and have a look at what services they have. Well, guys, let's head on into security. So first up, more WordPress hacks. This is why I'm moving away from WordPress as much as conceivably possible. Slowly, we will move everything off of it, at least on my own personal stuff. I'm about 50-50 now. Moving things off, and this one is a backdoor found in pretty much everything released by AccessPress. So if you have an AccessPress theme or AccessPress plugins inside your WordPress install, they are probably vulnerable and need to be updated and or nuked. So there are a lot of details, technical details, and here is a list of themes, and here's a list of plugins. If you're using any of those, links, of course, in the description of the video. Head on over there and see if you are vulnerable to any of these things. Make sure that they are up to date. This is themes and plugins in AccessPress WordPress sites. McAfee issues a security bulletin and patches a bug that can lead to system-level privileges. This is why you don't use antivirus. That's extra. If you're on Windows, use Windows Defender. Windows already has access to everything. They're going to secure it better than anybody else is, and McAfee is pretty much garbage. It completely bogs your system down, so don't use it. But if you are using it, make sure that you are updating it to 5.7.5. So anything before that are vulnerable to exploits, which will allow somebody to gain full administrative or root access to your system. That's exciting. Way to go, McAfee. And Brata. This is actually a new take on an old Android malware. So the old Brata, what it would do is it would go in and it would harvest banking information and then do a wire transfer out of your bank, which is connected to your phone in some way. This, guys, is another very good reason to have one security hardened computer that does nothing but banking stuff. You can do it on a little USB hard drive on Linux, works perfectly fine. Okay, don't do banking on your phone. If your bank's like, well, you got to use my app. No, you don't. No, you don't. Go to your bank and say, I don't have an Android. I don't have an iPhone. I don't have a smartphone. I need an option to do my banking without an app. If they're like, well, we don't have, they say, give me my money. We're going to go to the other bank. I promise you, everyone listening to this, at least in America, there is probably a bank on every other corner in your street. If your bank does not have a way that you can bank with them without a stupid phone app, go find a bank you can. Oh, but it's inconvenient. Yes, it is. And privacy and security is inconvenient. Now, this update to this particular piece of malware, what it's going to do is after it does a wire transfer and transfers all your money out of your bank, then it does a cool thing. It factory resets your phone. Yay, that's exciting. Why? So that it wipes out the phone, so it erases all presence of itself. The new one also comes fully equipped with GPS tracking devices, an increased capability of using multiple protocols to make sure that it stays connected to its home servers, and some more advanced keylogging techniques. All wonderful things you would like to have your malware. It is evolving to become this amazing piece of garbage that's going to steal all of your money, steal all of your credentials, log all your information, and then factory reset your phone. So be aware of that one, and don't do banking on your phone. Well, Tracfone has issued an update, and what ended up happening here is a massive SIM swapping campaign. I forget exactly how many people it was. Was this? I forget. I should have grabbed the actual news article that dug into it a little bit more. I can't remember. It was somewhere in the thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people. Their track phones just stopped working. Well, there was a SIM swap breach that occurred on a mass scale, and a bunch of bad actors were able to get in there and compromise the entire accounts. So if you are vulnerable to this, you would have already received information about it. So just something to keep in mind there. And our feature story, this is a bug lurking for 12 years in Linux. Now, it says for 12 years in Linux. I'm not sure that's entirely true, because distributions up to just a few years back, they didn't have the full capabilities that's implemented. It's just, I think, from like, how long back was it? Wasn't a whole lot back. Oh, maybe. Okay. Never mind. I'm just an old boomer. I'm just losing track of the years. It's 2009. Sorry about that. But anyway, this has to do with Policy Kit, which is now Polkit, which pretty much every OS uses. And what they found is that there was a group of code that you could execute, and it was pretty much 100% reliable, which when executed would immediately give you root access on a shell. Now, the positive about this is it's not something that can be exploited remotely. It has to be something that is exploited on your local machine. So somebody would have to be having access to your machine, maybe SSH in, but the articles was pretty clear about has to be direct access. And then they did a little information here with Ubuntu 2010. Now, every Linux distribution has since patched this. So as long as you are running updates, you are going to be free of this. But yeah, it's been a bug in there for 12 years. It has not yet been seen in the wild, but it is something that we are now aware of. So just, an update, keep these guys up to date, and that is going to help you out. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, we do have Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM. You can jump in over there, help support what we are doing. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM. or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.